Okay, charcoal from a site. I don't know what hearth site. I guess that's a coal site. I could just replace that word from a coal site in Colorado. Is known to be 11,000 years old, 2,000 miles south. Okay. Researchers reason that since glaciers prevented human migration south from Alaska, from the South Alaska-Siberia land bridge, humans must have come to the Americas more than okay, let's say the charcoal from a coal site in Colorado, 2,000 miles south of Alaska, is known to be 11,000 years. Okay, the charcoal is 11,000 years ago. That since glaciers prevented human migration south from the Alaska-Siberia land bridge between 80 prevented human migration must have come to the Americas more than 18,000. So before 18,000 years ago. Aha is known to be 11,200 years old. You're going behind. It's known to be 11,200 years old. Aha. Aha. 18,000 years ago. 11,000 years ago. This is present tense. Okay, let me just draw a number line. I think that would help. So let's say this is present tense, 2022. Now you're going backwards. So this is 11,000 years ago. Let's say you're 18,000 years ago. What is known to be 11,200? So this is saying that this is 11,000 plus 200 years old ago. It's almost like a negative. It's like you're going, okay. This is where it is on the number line. Almost like negative. You can say present tense is 0, almost on the number line. Okay. So given that nobody was allowed to cross, now this charcoal charcoal. So I guess this is saying that humans made the charcoal. Humans use the charcoal. It's humans not allowed. Humans not allowed in America. We this number line. between this yellow. So how did this charcoal come to America? It must have come before 18,000 years ago. And so there must be people living, in America. Given during the yellow period, these people were living in the yellow period came before 18,000 years ago. Okay, but I don't know. That means so just because there is a charcoal in this yellow during this period, and we know that the argument is just because there is this piece found 11,200 years ago, we know no one can count during that 11,200 years ago. It must be before 18,000 years ago that they came. This has to be rock solid in my mind. Just gonna okay, using radio was at least 11,000. So what does that mean? At least 11,000. That means it could have been even earlier. Oh, at least 11,000 means it's 11,000. So it's at least 11,400 years old. It could be 11,300 years old. 11,200 years old. Maybe it's only 11,000 years old. The word at least is pushing in this direction on the number line. So that's irrelevant because, I'm trying to, even if, I'm told in the premise it is 11,200 years ago. Now you're telling me at least. So you're not telling me anything new. Another campsite was found in New Mexico with remains. What are these remains? Are these human remains? What are these remains? Is New Mexico in America? I mean, is New Mexico in America? It is today, but is New Mexico in America 16,000 years ago? Or is New Mexico in perhaps what is today? I mean, where is New Mexico? Is Mexico? But I mean, even if you don't know where New Mexico is, let's say you did find remains dated 16,000 years ago. I don't think it affects the argument specifically. I'm looking for something that breaks this. Just because there's a piece of charcoal, I guess. found 11,000. We know that no one came during. I mean, now you're telling me that there is some other place somewhere else that they came. Is New Mexico also, is this Siberian Alaska between stopping people from coming to New Mexico? I don't know. Is this border mentioned in the purple stopping people from coming to New Mexico? I don't know. And I don't know the geography. New Mexico, even North America. I'm a little skeptical. I'm not too happy with this. I'm very skeptical. A computer simulation of glacial activity showed that it would have been impossible for humans to travel south around 11,500. Uh-huh. So this doesn't weaken the argument. This just weakens the conclusion. This is telling me that it's not possible for people to travel. It's not possible to, if you were in this time period, 18,500 years ago. So this is saying 18,500 years ago. You were not allowed. But what about 18,300 years ago? Maybe then you could travel. It would have been impossible for humans to travel 18,000. What about 18,200 years ago? Hard to say. I mean, the question is, they must have come more than 18,000 years ago. I mean, it does make it impossible. New evidence. I mean, it does count. I'm not gonna delete it, but using it was proved that an ice-free corridor allowed passage south from the at least it was proved that an ice-free corridor allowed passage south at least 11,400 years ago. So this is between here. You're telling me that there was some passage between 11,400. So, but I'm trying to see to prove that it could not have happened at this point. So these out. Studies of various hunting gas show convincing that once the glaciers allowed passage, humans could have migrated in about 20 years. Okay. Once the glaciers allowed passage, did the glaciers allow passage during this or during this gray phase? We don't know. So that's out. So it's really between B and C. Okay, another campsite was found with remains dated at 16,000 years ago. Which of the casts doubt on the conclusion drawn above? It would have already been impossible. Yeah, between B and C, I prefer C. Why don't I prefer B so much? Another campsite was found, remains dated 11th. Well, if the remains, that means it's around here. It's this around 16,000 years ago. But doesn't that still tell, I mean, that still falls under the category that people came before 18,000 years ago. I mean, even if you have, just because you have remains dated at 16,000 years ago, maybe the people that you see here dated 16,000 years ago came to came during this period, and these are the 16,000 years ago. So it's still possible that they still, the goal is to try to make sure that it's not, you're not able to come to this conclusion. I'm not happy with C, but I guess it's the best between the worst. I will go with C. Clearly something wrong with my thinking.